Why is that? We say a blessing before we eat an apple. We say a blessing before we do practically anything. Why? Yeah?
Because the last act of creation before Shabbat begins is, come on baby, light my fire.
Holy Catholic. I love it. That's an Andrew Torah right there. Come on baby, light my fire. Please rise as we light the fire together, just in our hearts. Give me a little brucha. I love when Adam says, wow. It's like the whole world lights up. That's the lighting of the fire. Wow. He's got the Shlomo wow, you know? Wow. 100%. I learned something from my new friend Kobe a couple of weeks ago. Did you know that it's a requirement before a senator takes office, they have to tour Israel? Did you know that? For an American senator? A senator can be great at their job. They can create legislation with their peers, but unless they're close to their constituents, if it doesn't bring them closer to their people, they're not as effective. It doesn't bring them closer to the world around them. It doesn't bring them into the awareness of foreign policy. They're not as effective. President Bill Clinton learned this the hard way in his own state of Arkansas. But you'll have to read the book for that. So, what Kobe told me was that when he's like the tour guide to the stars, where he's too expensive for us, otherwise I would take him with us this summer. And he said, you know, mostly people want to see commonalities. They want to see that we all have our source in the same place. And I want to talk to you a little bit about that tonight. In this week's Torah portion, it reads, V'shor v'ayil shlomim l'zevach lifnei Hashem u'mincha b'lul b'shamen ki hayom Hashem nira aleichem. It says, bring offerings of all kinds. Make sure that you bring your peace offerings and your sacrifices and your meal offerings, and keep up with the dogma of your practice, of your religious engagement, because today God has appeared to you. Make me a little lower in the monitor, Jorge, just a little. And so there's a particular rabbi, his name is the Desha Rav, Reb Nachum Mendel of Desh. And he takes a look at this phrase from the Torah and he says, what does it mean you should perform these rituals because today God appears to you? Because today you see God. He says what it means is the closer that you get to God on that day, and may that day be today for you, when you feel a connection to your image of God, the first thing you want to do is close the door. It's almost as though you've just gotten married. You know, it's your wedding night and you need a little privacy. And you say, this is my God. It's my God. Because you don't want to dilute that experience. And that's natural. It's a natural inclination to want to do that. To private your relationship with God. And so the Rebbe says, we're reminded, though, to come back to ritual, to ground us in relationship to other. Because your experience of God, if it keeps you alone in your room, in a monastic lifestyle, it serves the monastic lifestyle, but it doesn't serve your life, and it doesn't serve the world around you. You see, it's our inclination, as soon as we find the way, to discount all other ways. My way, my God, supersedes yours, supersedes all others. And I need that. As a matter of fact, my Rebbe used to teach that that's part of your religious progress, is discrimination. First you discriminate. You say, wait, mine is different. But if you stay there, you'll be like Picasso. Have you ever seen a portrait? The last portrait of Picasso. He even does one of himself, but there's a photograph of him before the portrait. And his face is long and sad and quite frankly terrifying. Because this is a man who had so many loves and let none of them in. He let none of them in. And he comes to the end of his life and he has a life where genius is expressed, but no connection is felt. Who wants that kind of life? And so, the Rebbe says you have to have a structure to bring you back to us. Find God on the mountain, but come down and share your experience with us, the rest of the world. Sam Harris said with great audacity that every religion should be tested against what's real. Your beliefs should be brought to the marketplace of ideas. Otherwise, you have extremism, and worse, you have terrorism. That's what happens when religion goes unreasoned and untested and unshared. And the Yid HaKodesh, much far before, many years before Sam Harris, he said the same thing. And I want to read to you. Can I read to you a little bit in Hebrew from his Sefer? It says, Shemati b'shem Yud HaKodesh. This is actually another rabbi who's writing about him. It's his great-grandson. It says, Mahu b'china shel ish Yisrael, li'yadei im holech b'derech yashar, b'darchei Hashem. If you are to really know what it means to walk in the path of God, and to know that you're on the right path, he says, Habachina, the test, in Yiddish it's probe, it's to probe. You probe yourself to see if that's the right path. Bechina hi havas Yisrael. You know that you're walking the right path if it brings you closer in love with the world around you. That's the indicator. That's the true test that your path is real. If your connection to God increases your connection to other. And in terms of religious practice, this is very important. So I read an article this past week in Wall Street Journal written by Professor R.R. Reno. He is a professor of theology and ethics at Creighton University. And he writes as follows. He writes an article that highlights the commonalities of Passover and Easter, which is what we were talking about, right? This year, Easter falls very close to, or right on the heels of, what we call Tikkun Leil Shvi'i, the 7th day of Passover, which was the time that we believe the Yam Suf, the Red Sea, opened. Do you know what it means, Yam Suf? It means the field, the ocean of endless possibility. When the ocean of endless possibility opens for you, you could see many things that you couldn't see the days before. So he doesn't write that. I'm bringing it to, but I want to tell you what he writes. He writes that there's many connections. He says the connection between the Jewish and Christian holiday is explicit. The Hebrew word for Passover, of course, Pesach. In French, Easter is Pâques, or in Italian, it's Pasqua. And in many other languages, what was the one that you mentioned, Kobe, the other day? Was it Greek, Oestra?
Yes,
Oestra, right? And it's the German origin, Easter, coming from the archaic word meaning new life or resurrection. Both holidays face head-on, this is what he writes, the daunting power of death. Both holidays announce the greater power of God to bring life and resurrection. Now, before you think that we're Jews for Jesus, those who are new tonight, don't be scared about the word resurrection. Resurrection was alive and well in Yiddishkeit and Judaism way before Christianity. It's the idea of Tchias HaMesim. It's part of our liturgy that we believe in a God who brings the dead back to life. We believe that nothing is ever over. Right? It says a lot about life. So he continues that this idea of resurrection, it threads the two holidays. We tend to think of slavery, our enslavement, as just an injustice, because that's what it would be today. But back when our people were in Egypt, it was actually a death sentence. There was no enslaved nation that ever survived. They were squashed until they were extinguished completely. And that was the plan, that was Pharaoh's plan. And then he would move to another nation. And so, Reno writes, Jews are called out by God and call out to God as God raises them up from slavery, parts the Red Sea, and delivers us from Pharaoh's murderous anger. That we were, in fact, resurrected, he says. And resurrection is, of course, a Christian theme. I'm not an expert on Christianity by any means. But there is a commonality here. That we believe that we were resurrected from the grip of death, and we share that with that holiday Easter because it happens during their celebration of a resurrection. Now, our holiday, our religion, the Jewish religion has always been realistic. We don't paint the saccharine version of history. Passover doesn't promote some dreamy optimism that God will keep everything neat and nice. Jews are vulnerable to oppression and to murderous hatred. There's a real connection between Egypt and Auschwitz. And it's no mistake that Easter is sandwiched between Pesach and Yom HaShoah, which is this coming week. And what I found interesting about Reno's article, Professor Reno, was his bringing together the Jewish and Christian relationship not just to life, but more interestingly, to death. For us, the mourner's Kaddish for Jews, it's an astounding statement. It doesn't mention death once in the Kaddish at all. As a matter of fact, it's not even in Hebrew. It's in a language that we say, is not understood. It's Aramaic, although we all understand it. It's the foreign language, it's the sister language. Only the first two words are Hebrew. So it speaks of something new in a foreign territory, something new to us. And when you experience the loss, the grief of someone's passing, no one can talk to you about what it really feels like. But something happens when you say Kaddish. You see, the heart is burdened with grief, but the prayer itself turns upward La'ela ula'ela, it says. It raises you up. It says, in fact, I still believe that God is greater than this. That God's power to bring me back to life after this loss is greater than the pain that I feel now. That's the meaning of Kaddish. Now, many religions won't allow death in their sanctuary. But the Catholics, according to Reno's article, the casket, have you ever been to a Catholic funeral? I haven't. But the casket, I understand, sits right in the middle of the church. So it's a mistake to think that Christian faith in its resurrection, its Rebbe, somehow denies or evades the reality of death. But they believe, Christians believe, in God's power as we do. That it's ultimately greater than the grip of death. And that's Reno's point. And that's the reason why U.S. senators go with Kobe to Israel, to look for some commonality. Christians look to the Jewish fabric to find a common thread. Am I right? And so, I have to tell you though, when I first looked at this article, I looked at it with the eyes of a rabbinic student, a trained mind, and I was looking for all the inaccuracies that I might find, because this is the first article that tries to link Christianity and Judaism together. It's among volumes of other articles. So I'm looking at it to see where's the Christian historicity, you know what I mean? Their narrative. I was thinking to myself, because it's a longer article, and I certainly didn't give you the whole thing, but if the Last Supper was indeed the Passover Seder, celebrated on the Seder night, the Paschal Lamb, the Korban Pesach, the crucifixion, as the Christians say, couldn't have happened the next day because it was Yom Tov. I mean, so to say that we took Yeshki out and, beheaded him or whatever it was that we did to him on Yom Tov would never have happened, ever. Beis Din doesn't even come together on Yom Tov. So I was looking at it and I was trying to find this is ridiculous, it's just, and this is what goes through my head. And there was another voice, an even deeper voice, a voice of Jewish victimhood that said, well, if Christians are finding commonalities now and they're really trying to create some common mutual thread, where were they 65 years ago in Europe when we needed them? And these, with the Holocaust Memorial Day coming up, these are sort of the feelings that rang out. But then I woke up and I said, if I'm to remain in fear and in judgment, then according to the Yeder Kodesh, I'm just going to be another Picasso, celebrating my own genius, my own ability to find inaccuracies, instead of identifying what's more important. Angela, what's more important? How can I let others in? So the victim in me, the scholar in me, looks at an article like this and says, oh, it's just, suiting a Christian theology. But Reno is doing more than that in this article. He's attempting to minimize the distance between cultures. And although I hold true and steadfast to my Jewish heritage, I recognize that we're living in an increasingly fragmented society. And we need to do everything we can to minimize the distance between us and other, daily. And frankly, there are more important things than historic accuracy. There's the present moment. You see, there is no master narrative. No one's version of history is more accurate than another. Believe me, history belongs to those who won the war, those who own the printing presses. And that's it. Much more important is how we relate to each other now. And so if I'm on the right path, that path encourages connection to other. I want to tell you, I'm going to end with a little story. Can I? Not like you have much choice. I'm trying to be polite. So, it's a story that comes down from the tradition of the Tessler Rebbe. The great Berditchev had a school in his town, and this man walks in and says, "I lost my wallet." He interrupts the learning. It was common for people to do that. Whenever there was a problem, who did you go to? You didn't go to the police. You went to the Rebbe. He was like the godfather, right? You went to him and you told him your troubles, and he would take care of them. Not like the godfather. You know. So he says, please, Rebbe, pray for me. It was my last 30 rubles. The last 30 rubles I had in this world are in that wallet. Please pray for me. So one of the students hears. So he searches into his pocket and he finds 30 rubles. And he goes up to this poor man and he says, "I found your wallet. Here's your 30 rubles back." The man gets on his knees and says, "Thank you, you gave me my life back. I can eat and feed my family again." And just then, someone else enters the base medrash and says, "I found a wallet. And my phone is ringing. But let me get the phone first." And so this man comes into the base medrash and he says, "I come to do Shabbos Aveda. I come to return something lost. I come to return something lost." And he brings the wallet to the Rebbe. And the Rebbe looks to the man who lost his wallet and he says, "Is this your wallet?" And the man says, "Yes, it is." So the man takes the 30 rubles that the student gave him and gives them back to the student. But the student says, "No, please. Once a kindness is done, let it be done." Okay. Then the rabbinic discussion began. Right? What do you mean, let it be done? How can you make God deal with this kind of chaos, right? How can you offer two kindnesses to the world? It's going to tip the karmic balance. Really, there was an argument about it right there. There were two positives that emerged from a negative. And the student says, you're obligating God to recognize twice the goodness that God had planned for the world. And the Berditchev said exactly this. He said, I believe in a God who can tolerate two goodnesses. Why do I tell you this? Because I believe that there's goodness in all religions. If you look hard, you'll find it everywhere. Everywhere. Do you believe in a God that makes room for two different kinds of goodnesses?
Yes.
3 or 4 or 5?
Yes.
So, who are we to be different? Good Shabbos. Amen. Hallelujah. I have a witness. Woo.